Welcome back. It's been several days, if not almost a week, since my last recording. By the time you see this, it's probably going to be several weeks old, but because I'm a little bit behind on uploading my videos. But what we have here is Munlauncher IV. I was incorrect in the naming of my last video. I think I said Munlander 3. It actually was Munlauncher 3, and this is Munlauncher 4. I'm designing this particular set of rockets to launch things to the moon. So instead of actually moon landers, as in like sending landers, it's actually sending things to launch to the moon. Because in some situations I don't want to actually land on the surface. This is, I can't even remember now if I showed you the last video where I had, basically I need to send a, I'm sending, let's see, what is this? The UKS Logistics Hub, which I believe last video I mentioned that I wanted to send the hub so that I could automatedly ship fuel between the surface and whatever's in orbit, because I'm using my moon colony is basically an intermediate base between Kerbin and other planets as a refueling station. And in order to do the refueling station, I need to set up this extremely heavy, extremely bulky logistics hub. And I don't know if I could show it to you. You see these like little pod things with little rockets on it? These are supposed to be delivery drones that are run by the computer that will ship goods and fuel back and forth from the main colony to whatever's in orbit. This is going to be the last big piece of my colony, because once they are drilling and they have fuel and food and all the other stuff, which is what's going on right now, they can send that to any ship in orbit. So that's what this module does. Here, these containers are full of machinery. I did not realize as part of the UKS mod that if you don't max out the machinery on every single piece that you send up, it works at a very low efficiency. I did a bunch of trial and error at the colony, and I realized that I only took like 1,000 machinery for like 7 different modules, so it's running at almost bare minimum. I'm sending up another 7,200, because there's 3,600 on each side. I'm sending up extremely heavy amounts. I think this is, I forget how many tons each, 15 tons. Forgive the frame rate, again, we're in the 450 part range. I don't think it's actually going to give me the weight. I think each one of these are 10 or 15 tons. So we're talking 30 tons of machinery, then another 15 tons for the logistics hub. And here's the lightweight. This is only 2.5 tons. This is that training academy I told you about. Let me go ahead and kick the lights on. I don't want to say we're off. This training academy actually allows me to train other Kerbals on the surface up to 3 stars in experience. I am actually bringing Bill Kerbal with me, who is one of the orange suit top level guys. He's a 3-star engineer, and I want him to train all the other engineers. I'm not sure if I can do 3 stars or I can just do 2 stars, but in any case, he's going up there specifically to train the other 4 Kerbals I have there with lower engineering skills. Once he does his job of training them up, I'm going to have to find a way to get him home, because I want to use him for my interplanetary missions. So this is where we're at right now. So I'm sending the logistics module, the training academy, and then this is just aerodynamic. There's nothing back here except a bunch of crap that I'm including with the mission. But it's a very awkward surface, so I decided just to put a cone over it to give me a little more aerodynamics. You'll recognize the bottom half of this is Munlander 8, which I realized after adding all this machinery and other stuff, I just could not use the last lightweight launcher that I showed you, I had to go back to Munlauncher 8 and use that as a basis to take off. So I've already done probably 10, at least 10 to 12 tests with this particular rocket. I had the fuel and everything up too high before. It would snap in half, exploded in my face so many times I don't want to talk about it anymore. But since I rearranged the weight, I put most of the fuel and all the heavier stuff at the bottom. That's why these containers are at the bottom. I used to have one big container up top, but that did not work out, so I decided to split it. You notice that's why I don't have it full. This is really, really heavy stuff. This is basically considered computer equipment, so it's very dense and very heavy. So 3600, like I said, is probably 15 tons each side. So we're sending up, I think it's 90 to 95 tons to the moon. As you remember, Munlauncher 8 was able to do 110 tons. So that's basically why I had to just go back to the old model. The difference between the old model and the new model is that I have this as an intermediate stage. This is a liquid fueled stage. It's a lot shorter and stubbier than the orange tank, if you remember the orange tank. This actually works out to be a lot more powerful and a lot more compact and better because I have the skipper engine in the middle, and then I have 4 of the arrow spikes on the outside, and that actually allows me to provide a almost 1-to-1 ratio of weight to lift. So instead of struggling, you remember how in Munlauncher 8 I struggled to get that cargo into orbit? This has much less of a problem, and it's actually more efficient because the arrow spikes, as you know, if you play the game at all, their specific impulse is really high in a vacuum. It's like 360 or something. So they're very fuel efficient. And I actually have it so that the center tank drains into these longer tanks, and these do not get ejected. This whole section gets thrown out into space eventually. But even though I have parachutes on it, if I remember correctly, I don't think this has any chance of coming back to Kerbin. There's actually so much extra fuel in it, I think it helps me get to the moon. But I did this a couple days ago, and right now I'm about to do the first launch since the day before yesterday. So hopefully it's not going to blow up in my face, and we'll have a successful mission to the moon. I did have to one of the reasons for the delay is that I had to run out of hard drive space, so I had to take a video from last week that was an hour and a half long and upload it. So if you see, I think it was Munlauncher 5 or 6, can't remember now, there was a Munlauncher video about an hour and 20 minutes long or so that I just uploaded last night. That's probably what you've seen now if you're following this channel. So this is about a week later. I think I've done enough babbling, and I have everything tweaked out for this particular rocket. I cannot do a 20% turn shape. Even though I have all the struts, it can't really handle a 20%. So I do a 40%, which is fine. What it does is it puts me into an orbit that has less negative periapsis. Instead of being like minus 150k, it's sometimes like minus 20k. So that it takes a smaller burn to get into orbit, but it uses more fuel to get to the 90k, if that makes any sense to anybody listening. So, not going to waste any more time. In fact, I just screwed up my target. I always do that. They should not make it so that clicking this screws up your target, because I want to see the nav guidance, but I also want to go to the moon, right? So now that purple circle is gone, so I can't tell if my ship is on target or not. I have no idea why that clicking this overrides the target, but I have to remember not to do that. We're going to do a launch to rendezvous because I think this actually uses the least amount of fuel. So we're going to go ahead and launch the rendezvous. 6,600 seconds. It's on an auto warp. It's on an auto stage, although I don't know if it's actually going to lift off or not. MechJib is constantly working or not working. So I just have to kind of wing it. If I notice it doesn't launch by itself, I'll just do it manually. And I have to do it the first stages manually anyway because of the, we don't want the first stage rockets to fall without parachutes and then wreck the base, which is what they do. Alright. We're about ready to lift off. As you can see, Launch to Rendezvous is counting down. We're going to go ahead and kick on RCS at this point. Cross our fingers that everything goes to plan. You're listening to Lush at Soma.fm, which is the same station I used the mission control before, but I had some copyright issues with that. I am not going to use that anymore because some background music was flagged, and I wind up spending about 2 hours of my night going in and removing that music. Yep. Auto stage didn't work. It didn't actually light the engines. So let's do it manually. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Munlauncher IV. Heading on its way to the moon. I'm just going to zoom out because I'm tired of yelling over the engines. And for the first time, I'm going to show you a nice wide angle of what it looks like. In fact, maybe I should go as almost as a ground observer, sort of. Give you an idea of what it looks like as a ground observer, which is actually kind of cool. Squad does a really good job with the graphics. It'd be nice if they had a little more lingering smoke down here, but you know, for being a physics-based simulator, it's pretty good. You know, the terrain does not look super realistic. There aren't natural clouds unless you use a mod. There's all kinds of non-realistic visuals, but the fact is, the physics model looks really good, especially with FAR, which I'm using, as you can see. Almost forgot. See the chutes come out. Hopefully they won't wreck into each other. Okay, at this point I can auto stage, so the rest of the trip should be automated. That's good to know that none of those first stages wrecked into each other. The parachutes make all the difference. Oh, this must be the 10 from last time. I'm saying nothing landed on the surface yet. I don't see why it might have alerted me to that. This has to be from last time. That's what's interesting, is it actually keeps all this stuff from the last launch, which was a test launch, which doesn't make any sense. You'd think when I revert, it would actually revert to get rid of that stuff. But you'll see as they pop up, as those first stages land. I believe I'll get credit for it here. I was considering, I'm going to shut the HUD off so it's less cluttery. I was considering skipping this recording because you guys have seen this so many times now, but this is a really damn good design. Everything peels off and is pretty graceful. Hopefully these won't wreck into each other. Yep, one of them bumped, so that I'm gonna lose some recovery off of that. But this next stage, this whole staging system that I have set up is very efficient, and I would like for you to see it. For anybody who's interested in building really heavy lifters, this is kind of like what you have to do. You want to get rid of your solid boosters early on, because they're not very efficient. They work well in lower atmosphere because of their, since they burn solid fuel, they're not very, they're not as random as liquid engines. Like liquid engines work better in a vacuum, and solid engines work better at sea level. So you should actually use solid engines for your initial, basically get yourself up to like 10, 15K, and then liquid after that. Now, because solid engines can't be steered, I do have this liquid engine, the Rhino, doing a lot of the gimbaling to keep this thing on path. I do have wings required by FAR. Try to launch a rocket this side without these ailerons that keep your rocket stable. You'll never be able to launch anything in orbit. Your ship will just flip over, fall apart, blow up. This is a lot of trial and error to figure these things out. Now, I don't think it's going to give me, because I shut the HUD off. Like, why is it not showing me anything? Because I shut the HUD off. You can see I have the ailerons. They are deflected right now. But nothing is stalling. Everything is lined up, you know, just the way it should be. Then again, I have no idea if I'm on track or not, but dynamic pressure is at the point of allowing the rocket to do some serious angle attack maneuvers, which is what it's doing. It's keeping the nose up. There's another fast, solid booster stage. Let's look at that. It's so artistic. This is one of the most dangerous stages because when I had the rocket very long before, it would start wobbling and it would just snap apart at this altitude and destroy itself. I think I have just enough gimbaling, which I think I put was 40%. Well, let me see that. Oh, 50%. I have 50% gimbaling because FAR actually 1.5 times is the gimbaling. Don't ask me why the guy did that. I think it was unnecessary. All it did was probably annoy a lot of people. Anything beyond 50% gimbaling, this will just rip itself apart. The rocket will move up and down, the front can't keep up, and then it rips itself in half in the middle. But I put lots of, you can see these lines. These are all the struts. I have some struts here. Struts here. I have struts all over this thing, and I made it extra thick, so I tried to use the thickest components I could that were short. Keep the length as minimum as I could. I kept all the heaviest items at the bottom of the package, so this is all the major weight here. This is all the lighter components. So what this does, it keeps the center of mass low, and therefore allows the RCS units and the reaction wheels, because I have several of those, allows them to do their job better, and it allows the wings and the gimbaling to do their job better. So keep the mass as low as you can towards the engine. We're coming up here to the end of the burn. Let's see where, as soon as this goes above 0 meters, the engines are going to start to throttle down. I just realized this is not working out like I expected it to. And there we go. I just wrecked the mission. I was so busy talking I wasn't paying attention to the altitude, and here we go. It's going to self-destruct. Watch it. Enjoy. This is what happens when you don't pay attention to what you're doing. So there we go. This is what happens when you don't pay attention. I'm gonna just skip the whole beginning of the recording and just go back to this point, and this time pay attention. So back with you in a moment. Okay, we're back. This is the second attempt. I just did a separation of the last solid booster stage. What I did for this launch is I just changed the percentage from 40 to 50. What that does is it allows the craft to get a little more altitude before it turns. It does waste a little more fuel, but you notice this time I'm actually a hell of a lot higher at this same stage, so I'm pretty much almost out of the atmosphere at this point. And the dynamic pressure fade out, which I said before how important dynamic pressure is. Once it gets past 5,000 pascals, it will allow the craft to maneuver any way it sees fit. It doesn't limit it to 5 degrees angle of attack, which you have to do at launch or it'll rip itself apart. There's just too many stresses at low altitude with the thick atmosphere to try to turn the craft too quickly, especially one this long. So right now we're rock solid. We're exactly where we need to be. The vertical speed will gradually reduce to 0, while the horizontal speed will gradually increase to close to 2,200 meters a second. That's our escape velocity. There we go. There goes that last stage, which we were waiting for before. Now it's burning the very efficient aerospikes. I believe from my testing before, the burn ends for stage 1 around 850 to 900 delta V. And then I have a full 1600 in the landing module. So 800, 850 to get us to the moon, and then another 1600 to land. Should not be a problem. This definitely made the difference, changing this from 40 to 50%. Just, it was like night and day on how I was handling the middle atmosphere. You can see, looks like all 24 stages, 24 parts, landing at 3%. As long as they're blue, I don't care. As long as I don't see any red ones. Looks like every stage has been successfully recovered. See, we're getting our orbital speed up to the point of orbit, which is, I think, 2,400 or so. See, this is coming up to 0. And here we go. Look how close the periapsis is to 90K. I mean, the correction for full orbit is going to be like 30 or 40 delta V. So as I said, we're here at 900. That's a pretty accurate call. It'll use another 30 or 40 to put us into a perfect orbit and give us almost the entire stage 1 burn to get to the moon. There comes a couple more stages that successfully landed. These are the big ones. Or this is the big one. This is the one with the big engine on it. Yeah, see, the importance of this is I get 42,000 back for that stage. The speed was perfect, very low, but the distance is really what, you lose some of the money from the distance. Of course, you don't get your money back for the fuel that you burned, but getting 42,000 back is pretty nice. That was that big middle stage that I just dropped. Unfortunately, I won't get anything back from this stage because it's going to be long gone by the time we eject it. So really, I'm unnecessarily waiting for this to do its orbital burn. I almost kind of want to just bypass that and go directly to the moon because I am at a pretty good place right now. In fact, I think I will bypass it. Let's just disengage the autopilot and not worry about it. We're on the opposite side. This is us right here. Well, I don't know why it's showing us a satellite. But our burn will be like about over here. So I don't need to worry about the full orbit and wasting the fuel to do that. So of course we're going to go back to MechJib and do our maneuver planner. And then do the Hohmann transfer. Which for some reason lost the moon as the target. Okay, Hohmann transfer to the moon. Create the node. 872, not the best, but hey, it works out, right? And like I said here, so here's our burn, which is about where I approximated it would be. And that will get us around to do our normal thing here. As always, it's going to wreck us into the planet if we don't make the modifications to change. So I'll just go for the cheaper side, which actually should be this way. $14K. Looks pretty good. And we're actually coming in at a decent angle, which will help, because this is our where we're deciding to go, right? So every little bit that angles up that way kind of helps. Oh, I might be able to... The problem is it's going to use so much more fuel to do it this way. So now we're getting a nice angle. Well, I actually might be able to save some serious fuel. I usually don't get this lucky with the approach.
You're listening to Lush on Soma
No,
FM.
it's the wrong way.
Listeners
do
support
this way.
commercial-free internet radio.
I usually don't get lucky enough coming from Kerbin's. This is a flat plane where I can come in on an angle like this, but it's only costing me a little bit more fuel to do it at this distance. So I'm almost kind of thinking that I should take advantage of this and try to just try to come in at a good steep angle. So that, you know, that's good enough. That's actually a pretty slick orbit. I'll come flying in on this side and then go up at an angle that'll equal this. So I really won't have to do very much to get to here. Maybe 80K, 80 delta V. And it didn't cost me that much more to do it so far back at Kerbin. You have to remember, of course, the way physics works is the further away you are, the less delta V it's going to require to make an adjustment. So, you know, making the adjustment back at Kerbin is way better than making it. I just realized the zoom is on the warp. Making the adjustment way back here at Kerbin is much more fuel efficient than waiting until I get here. So every little bit of the angle that I can muster, I should take. It's only going to cost me a little bit more. So what I spend now will save me probably 50 to 75 delta V later, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot when you got this much, or this much, 2,500. But the fact of the matter is, you've already seen it in some videos where I ran out of fuel seconds before touching the ground and I exploded. That's why 50 to 75 delta V is important. So if you do it right, and you come through and you burn everything efficiently, you don't have to restart the mission again. So, okay, 5 minutes to the burn. I'm going to go ahead and line up my craft. I don't need this anymore. I'm going to put my SAS back on. which is basically just a computer operated system that will guide me to where I need to be. And unlike other craft in the past, this one it is very well balanced. You see, it had no problem lining up. There's no weird shaking. There's no weird bending. Having a short craft is definitely an advantage. So once you get up into the higher weight class of sending larger things, you have to use the bigger tanks and just go for shorter, or you're going to wind up having problems. You see, I had to put struts in here. I didn't want to use a giant Rhino engine for this because it's not very efficient. It's very heavy. I want to use a smaller engine. In order to do that, you have to use the struts. If I didn't put these struts here, we would have never made it. It would have actually, the craft would have ripped itself in half at this joint. It always looks for the weakest point and it will rip that apart. You can see the rest of the craft I have is thick and solid, and I even braced it with extra struts just to be safe. Like, I installed this just so I can put a strut here, because you know what, I said I don't trust it. I have, there's a possibility that it's going to be too weak. So, and you can see here my RCS tanks. I'm bringing double xenon with me, so I'm bringing another 10K for my rover because I need it, because I burned up a lot of the last stuff before. Okay, so we're lined up with a maneuver node. We have 3 minutes remaining before we do our burn. Yeah, this is a nice view of the 5 engines I have in the back. Let's go ahead and do the timer. And I really hope that these songs that I'm listening to here on the streaming live Soma.fm station is not going to violate some copyright and then require me to go back in after an hour of processing to remove the music, which I had to do in an earlier video. It's kind of risking it using the online radio right now, but I know you guys want to listen to something different. Okay, it says it's going to be a 2-minute burn, so I should just go ahead and get started. I know it was 9 minute and a half. It's nice, stable, rock solid. Everything is just going right to plan right now, which is good. Doing this enough times by now should be. The next stage actually drops everything. Yeah, it just drops this tail part here. And then we have another engine here that will take us all the way to the moon. Actually, this should take us most of the way to the moon. See, 500 here, 520 there. So actually it's saying that I won't even drop the stage until we get to the moon. Now, I probably shouldn't waste the space or bore you with the whole trip between here and the moon. You've seen it plenty of times. So I'll just go ahead and end this video and show you guys the actual landing. Here we are back at the, this is take number 2. Obviously I made it out of the atmosphere, no problem. So here we are about to land on the moon. So far so good. It looks like I have 1,000 delta V of fuel left. This estimates less than 500, so no matter what, I will have enough fuel. Looks like this should be a very easy landing. Because once I land here on these struts, I can knock this one out and then land on these. I took like so many precautions on this. I put extra jets extra struts, extra everything to make sure that these wheels would not break. Because on my last colony ship, I lost about half the wheels. I still was able to drive the thing, but I had like 12 wheels on it. So losing 6 was not a big deal. Here, if I lose both front, I'm screwed. I'm not going to be able to drive the thing. So, fortunately, I do on board have a 3-star engineer. His picture's not showing up in the corner because he's not an actual command module. He's hanging out in the training area. He's working on his chops now to start training all the noobs. And that's one of the first things I'm going to do is send everybody over in the training once I get this module hooked up to the rest of the colony. I'm going to train up those engineers, transfer the machinery, and we should see a mega difference in production efficiency. The problem having on site is I am not able to make enough food. I can make enough oxygen and enough water to sustain the 4 Kerbals there, but I don't have a high enough efficiency to actually create enough food to so they're self-sustaining. So I'm hoping with this machinery and the up-training, I will be able to get these guys 100% self-sufficient, so I never have to send any supplies to this colony. They should be good on their own. I think I'm going to have to take some of these guys with me to other interplanetary missions and replace them here with noobs and then let them get trained up. So we're about to make the landing. We're 3 kilometers above the surface and rapidly decelerating. Just like with the other modules, I am going to have to do a spacewalk. I'm going to call it a spacewalk. We're not going to moonwalk. I don't get it. I have to do a moonwalk to connect these 2 modules together. Uh-oh, insufficient power. Insufficient power. We got plenty of power. I don't want to be seeing insufficient power shutting down. Maybe that was insufficient power for the base that we're landing at. It better not have been insufficient power for this craft, or we're in big trouble. I'm not going to turn off all the crap so you can just watch the glory as we come down. Look how much technology I have going on down there. It's at the point where it's turning into like a little mini city. It's even lighting up the boulders. You know, it would be nice, and I'm sure they will in the future, put collision boxes for the boulders. It's super cheesy to be able to just ride right through them. But I'm sure that in the future, once they get the 64-bit code up to speed, they'll be able to add features like this that won't destroy the memory, because the memory limitation is a very big limitation with a game like this. I'm running 3.3 gig right now. If it hits 3.6, it's going to crash. That's how little leeway I have, and every scene change causes the memory to spike. And I have everything tweaked as best I can. I'm using active texture management on aggressive settings. I'm pretty much doing everything I can to get this to run in 32-bit mode with all the mods that I want. So it looks like we're about to touch down. It's taking a lot longer than normal. But I just not point lights downward. It doesn't look like as high as I am. No, 500 meters.
There's a track by
I thought that I would have some lights.
Which features Imogen Heap on vocals.
Pointing in that direction. I thought I did, but maybe I don't. I got lights all over this bad boy. So yes, as usual, it's going to land at the landing site, the nice flat landing site, which is directly below. Can we go ahead and put the HUD back on? Ah, we do got some light showing up now. Okay. I was going to say, I know I put light in both directions on this, so we should be able to clearly see as we land what's going on. Okay, it's going to do the final throttling down. I'm going to kick the HUD on and pay attention because I need to make sure that it lands when it tips over on the side with the wheels. Goes the other way, I gotta do this over again. So I'm going to shut up here and try to control this as it touches down. I did a pretty gross overestimation of the amount of fuel I would need. Okay, SAS system on. Now what I'm going to do is just kick out one of the legs from under it and watch her fall. So turn off RCS to allow it to start falling, like a tree. And when I know it's past the point of no return, which is not yet, right now, I kick RCS on and I allow it, see the jets, allow it to slowly, oh, that was silky smooth. Couldn't have did that better. Really designed that craft well to take that landing. Look, it's even teetering on the legs here. Okay, so I can shut RCS off. We're down where we need to be. No damage to any of the wheels, it looks like. I can shut off the landing guidance. We don't need it. Wow, I landed with like a quarter of my fuel left. That's a lot of fuel. I certainly overestimated what I needed, but I can always use the fuel. It's not like it's going to go to waste. Alright, so I shut the gears off, turn off the brakes, and let's see which way's forward on this thing. Yeah, just the way it should be. That's forward. Alright. I can just do wheelies all the way there, check it out. Like, yeah, check this out. I'm just gonna do wheelies and shit. Woo! Don't flip over, don't flip over. I get a little out of control here, and I remember I'm like on a lunar surface, and if this thing rolls over, I'm screwed. Because really, I don't have a lot of way to flip this one back over. And yes, the frame rate sucks. It's a combination of the number of parts and fraps. I shut RCS off. I don't need to really use all that. Okay, the back wheels look like they're turning, right? But the front wheels turning yet? Yeah. It's all good. I like how it does wheelies. I mean, I really balanced this thing well. I'm proud of myself on this. It seems like every mission I get better and better at designing these so that they have less problems. But I'm telling you, the first stuff that I landed here was a mess. You notice all those rovers that I flipped over in the middle of craters? That's because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just designing crap that worked on Kerbin, but doesn't work in a low gravity environment. I mean, there's a low gravity environment with different type of soil is completely different. It's like driving low gravity in sand. You know, you kind of have to factor that in when you're making the design decisions. Now, this isn't the most stable craft in the world, but I only need to run at 500 meters and then I'm done, right? But I found this is the easiest way, is just to design something that will roll over on its side and then drive itself exactly where you need it to be. Whoa, what was that? That was certainly weird. I just saw the the tire broke. Fuck! What's going on? This thing's just like going off on its own. I didn't do anything. Did I accidentally hit the accelerator or something? I'm trying to get this thing to roll over. Oh, don't break the machinery, please. Okay, we'll stop rolling. I don't know what happened. I was just chatting and it decided to start doing backflips. Oh, you know what just happened? I lost... Fuck. I lost one of the xenon tanks. I mean, it's still there on the ground. I mean, I guess I can recover it if I don't feel like doing this landing over again, because I didn't save it. I lost the wheels though. Flip over. Come on, not that way, the other way. I'm gonna put this other reaction wheel back on. I think that might be part of the problem. Yeah, this is not going to help because this is too far away. I'm not going to be able to run a pipe this all the way back here. It's not rolling over. The frame rate is so horrendous, it's actually hard to play. If I could roll it over, I'll try to just... No, I can't. There's just not enough. There's just not enough to do it. I'm gonna have to do it over again. Only when I record do I fuck up this much. Okay. Try again. Okay, we're back. We had to do the whole landing over again. But it looks like this time no mysterious Kraken is going to flip me over. Basically what I blame it on, because I wasn't doing anything and the whole craft just flipped over and went crazy. Okay, so this is about where I'm going to need to be. I have 2 ports on this side I can use, so I think what I'll actually do is back up a little and just connect it to this last one. Be an interesting colony. Yeah, it looks good. Throw the legs back down. That'll give it some stability. There we go. It's all good. Now we're rock solid. All I need to do now is get out and put a couple of tubes up. Now I don't think Bill has any tools. No, I didn't. I didn't actually equip him with anything. So So what I'll have to do is just switch over to one of the others, which of course is going to be every other button but the one I need. That's right, I abandoned this. This still has a big cache of food in it, but I put all the guys in the main. Yeah, I should have went the other way. It probably was like one button, right? So, since I've been gone for a while, let me check and make sure that all the drills are still doing what they're supposed to do. Yeah? Yeah, I didn't need the mineral drill anymore. Substrate, where's minerals? Minerals are good still. Water was completely maxed out last time. Ore. Okay, these are still drilling. A lot of ore, which I could create great fuel out of, which I probably should do. Other than that, it looks pretty good. Looks like the station, last couple of game days, has been doing fine on its own. So, what I do want to do is check. Remember the carbonite drill? For whatever stupid reason stops. Yep. It's gotta be a bug. It actually stops every time you leave. That's bullshit. That's supposed to... Oh, insufficient. So this is the one that said insufficient power. Ah, that's why the drills keep shutting down. Alright. It looks like what I'm going to have to do is connect this to the main base. I'm not going to have much of a choice. I have to connect it with a hose. Not one of these, actually. It looks more like a fire hose. And connect that to the colony ship so that it gets enough power to continue to drill. So that's the big problem. It runs out of power because remember I stole the one solar panel off of this for my rover. Looks like after all it did hit it. 4100 juice is just not enough for it to last the lunar night, which is several Kerbin days. So I'll have to hook this up to the main power grid in order for it to continue to function. I mean, I don't have to. It's got generated a lot of fuel. Generally what I did before was hook this to this. Then I use this to refill my rover, because this has the xenon in it, and it has the docking port on the front. But it's completely optional at this point. Alright, the main thing is going to be to get back to here. We'll ask Kudri, because, you know, Kudri's the shit. He's our main man. Pull up in his inventory, equip his drill, or screw gun, or whatever the hell that thing's supposed to be. Kick on his lights. And he is going to have to find, and I know we have a couple more, but I'm just not sure where. He's got to find another pair of hoses, or tunnels, or exo tubes, or spando tubes, or whatever the hell they're called. He's going to have to see where I have them stored, because really, I don't know where I have them. There's just so much crap that I brought with me because I wasn't sure what I needed. Ah, look at that. I got two more flexo tubes. That's what they are. Flexo tubes. Good. Okay, so he can just let go of the ladder. happily trot underneath the ship, and then we're going to go ahead and hook up our most recent lander to the main colony base, and that will hook all these bad boys together, and they'll all share resources. I'll also be able to transfer personnel back and forth between all of these modules without having to do a spacewalk, which is definitely nice. A little lacking on light over here. This is probably going to be the bad neighborhood, you know, since it's so dark. And like before, I'm probably going to have to try to jump, but I don't know if I can even, if I have enough. Oh. But I think a jump will do. Yes, it will. Jump. That's what I did last time. Basically just kicked on my thrusters, jumped, dragged one of these over. Wait, whatever it takes, right? I'll have to do the same thing to do the link. That didn't seem to take. Try not to hit scrap part, because we all know what happens if you hit scrap part. Dang it. Here we go. Link mode enabled. Now we can go up to 20 meters, I think, with this, which this shouldn't be out of range, but it's pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. Okay, same thing. Jets on, jump. Then do the same thing again. I'm gonna back up a little bit though. I don't want to bang my head off the port. Oh, I can fly now, no problem. I forgot, you lose the weight. Boom! Check that shit out. Alright, and you know what I forgot? I forgot to put any ladders on this. There's absolutely no way besides jumping, using your jetpack to jump in, to get anywhere near this thing. I really wasn't thinking about this as a standalone module, that I would just hook it up once I got here, and then everything else is minutia. It doesn't even really have any way to generate its own power. That's why I was running into some problems on the way. I mean, I could technically jump over here and get in, I guess. Grab. Yeah, see. But the thing is, whoa! The thing is... yeah, that didn't work. Thing is, I have to transfer him anyway, so... transfer him back to the workshop. Because, you know, since he's one of my highest level engineers, he's gotta do his thing, right? But I also want to trade him up, because I know he's not 3-star. I think he's a 2-star. So, I'm thinking just have him jump in here right now and learn.